So the question was, how many US employees do you utilize to oversee the Philippine team? And who answers the questions of the Philippine team with regard to unknown transactions? So when it comes down to how many US employees do we use to oversee the Philippine team? Now, I would say the way we started off is when we started hiring Philippine team, I actually did the oversight myself. And so at the time when we had like maybe what, three people in the Philippines, I was the one that was doing the oversight. And I was very intentional about training the senior accountants to actually take on the oversight work, meaning like the bookkeepers would do the detailed transactions, and then the senior accountants, I spent more time with them on a couple days a week actually going through and reviewing bookkeeper work with them so I could train them how to be the oversight for the work. And eventually, I would say after maybe about a year of meeting with them on a regular basis and doing reviews with the team, I was able to hand some of that oversight, actually, probably 90% of the oversight work off to the actual Philippines, to where the oversight of their work, they were able to do it themselves in the Philippines. And I would say right now we have our COO, who's the co-founder of the company, is in the US. And what we've really done is we've set up a lot of internal reporting. Like we use tools that can pull the data right out of, most of our clients are in QuickBooks. So let's say we use a tool called LiveFlow to pull the data out of QuickBooks and into spreadsheets. And we've just set up different reporting and different analysis to where we can quickly check a dashboard to tell if something is off or not. And I know that a lot of firms tend to struggle with this of just, hey, I need somebody who really knows this stuff. My opinion is at a certain point, what you realize is analysis is more, I guess you would say, scientific than it is, I guess you would say, a gut feeling. And what I did is I went through and said, okay, if I were going to analyze this set of financial statements, what would I look at? And once I realized that there was a consistent pattern with a lot of things, that we could set up different templates, we could set up different analysis, and we started in Google Sheets, we could set up things where, hey, if it was greater than X%, we would highlight it red or yellow. And that meant that the person who was reviewing it needed to look further into the details. By doing that consistently, it really trained our team on how to do the analysis themselves. And then also, we implemented something what we call a monthly financial review. And with this monthly financial review, what would happen is I would have the bookkeepers, the senior accountant, and the accounting manager go through this, where they had to pick one of the accounts that they worked on. And then they met with me or they met with the COO, and they had to present the financial statements to us as if we were the client. And we would ask questions, we would grill them on things, we would challenge them on different things that they were pointing out. And over time, what it did is it trained them to be much more thorough, and it trained them to be really good at being able to analyze the financials, to the point now is when they're preparing financials, they usually can catch 95% to probably 98% of the things that are going on in the financials. They can catch it themselves. And ultimately, to the point now, we have an accounting manager who is located in the Philippines. She's one that we hired and promoted through the ranks. And she's able to do a lot of the reviews, to the point that there is very little that I'm having to step in and do, to where now the actual Philippine team can actually manage things on their own. Now, when it comes down to who answers questions about unknown transactions, what we did is we taught the team how to use ChatGPT to research and look up unknown transactions. And for things that are truly unknown, like after you do some research, whether it's on the name, or what I will say is a good way to do it, like when you're using AI, is you can start to use a little bit more description of just like taking like the, I guess say, the memo description of the transaction to say, hey, what would if it's, let's say if it's a law firm in the state of Idaho, what would a law firm in the state of Idaho who has a financial transaction where this is the memo. Give me some options of what this might be. And when you do something like that, what you tend to get some very relative good suggestions on what it might be. And so what we would do is they would do that research. If they could tell what that unknown transaction is after doing that research, they would classify it. But if it was still truly unknown, we would just put it in what we call Ask My Accountant. And then we would send the client an email to say, hey, here are the unknown transactions. Can you help us identify this? And then the client can provide us with feedback to be able to help us clearly identify where these transactions should go. And after doing that for a while, what I will say is the team got really good of being able to identify some of these things to the point where some of these times my team can actually better identify the transaction more than the client can, because sometimes the client looks at it and they're not quite sure. But I will say it took some time of really getting the team used to being able to analyze these things. But if you really want to get your team to the point where you don't have to be the one doing the overseeing of their detailed work, is you have to create opportunities where you challenge them to do more than just check the box. And that's where we started doing things like the monthly financial reviews, where I told them, you need to come to this meeting and you need to be ready to present the financials to me. And I am going to ask you questions and challenge you. And after doing that over time, like, they were very nervous up front, but after doing it over time, they got better and better at being accountants and really understanding how to do more than just check the box.